All right. Well, good morning. Hi, my name is Chibueze Ihenacho, CEO and founder of ARMR Systems. ARMR is now based in Baltimore. We used to be located in Boston, but we are a early stage medical device company. We make classic devices. Our mission and our impact is around hemorrhage control, right? So we're making pioneering a new approach to hemorrhage control by making wearable hemorrhage control systems. What that means and what that refers to is the reality that millions of soldiers, law enforcement, first responders, and civilians die every year of preventable bleed outs, right? So you get injured, but they can't receive care. A doctor can't come to them, or a medic, whoever, before they get to a facility and they expire. And so we feel that this isn't acceptable, and we found a way to take a device and take a process that only doctors and medics can do, and make it into a device that you can wear into a scenario so that you can treat yourself or your loved ones without having to know what is an artery or any kind of specialized information. So we're trying to increase access to care for trauma victims and those people in really vulnerable, unstable places. And so that's what we do. We've had the pleasure of doing for about 8 years now. So I'm excited to be here and chat it up.
So so I'm just going to lay this out very, very easily and very fast for everyone. You were one of my mentees. That I just wanted to strangle on a good day, because you were so headstrong, and it got to the point where I would have
you a little bit.
Well, what? Really? Really? Like, do we want to go there? Because I feel like every single time it was just this constant butting of the heads, and I'm like, I go, why? Why is he just so stubborn, and yet so talented, and just so much to offer the world? Just wanted to put out there right now, so that way people aren't surprised when we're just constantly just jabbing at each other. Just want to put that out there. Hello, my beautiful friend.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Better now.
Was it a crazy morning? You said good morning, so I'm like, all right. Was it a crazy morning for you? Did it start off strong, or were you just excited about, I'm going to see Jodi today?
No. Yes. It was not it's been a rough morning, week, been a tough season, but this is good. This is a shining light in a.
Well, this is going to be good. All right, so you're in Maryland now, which is going to be part of our discussion. With this podcast, I always say to people, before the product, there's the person, and the person is the one that is the driving force, because there was clearly a problem they wanted to solve. But who was the person before? So just so people will know, I mean, obviously you don't go by your full name. So can we introduce your name that everyone tells you? Because people will look at your name like, what? How do I pronounce that? How do I say that? And that's the fun part when your family's from another country, where everyone's like, I can hack it, or I can ask you. So
yeah, cool. Yeah. So full name is Chibueze Ihenacho.
Can you say that slower so that way people can hear you?
Chibueze Ihenacho. Actually means God is King, Chibueze. And my last name, I might have told this a long time ago, Ihenacho means wanting to the heart, so your heart's desire. So I used to use that one here and there, but people call me Chips. So Chips is my little name.
Your parents gave you a name where your ego just matches it so well.
Not me. Yeah, nature, nurture. It's a bit of both.
I love it. All right, so we want to hear about little things. Like, where did you come from? Where were you raised? How were you raised? So let's just go from, we're going to do 3 parts. So we're going to do, who are you when you were from little you to college, college to the first couple of jobs, and then startup.
Cool. So who am I? So I 0 to 18 was a sensitive, headstrong crybaby from a Nigerian family. So they were born in Atlanta, but we moved and lived in Houston, Albuquerque, Southern Alabama. So every hot place, Tennessee, Florida, for about the first 10 years of my life. So we moved a lot. But kind of a big family, so full household of grandparents and aunts and uncles, about 8 to 12 people at all times. And so I love that, so I grew up loving people, being around healthcare. My parents are both in healthcare, a physician and a pharmacist. And as good Nigerian kids, we were all destined for medical school, right? But I worked with them, right? I saw patients. I went to the doctor's lounges, and I loved they had free ice cream. And why not? Why not do that, right? So in college and in high school, I was type A, was always active in sports. Swam competitively for 5 years, did club soccer, trained with the track team. Tennis lesson. I mean, a little bit of everything. Just stayed active, and knew I wanted to get into healthcare. I knew I liked to make things and lead. In high school, did a lot of leadership programs, read a lot of books, and just realized that's kind of how I came to meet the world. I used to have a really bad stuttering issue. I was in speech therapy from like first grade to fifth grade, and I couldn't talk. I couldn't talk, and so I started talking publicly from sixth grade, seventh grade, ran for Black Cash president, and so that's kind of how I think leadership and through doing things and starting things is kind of how I was able to manifest and kind of gain skills and gain confidence that way. So that was cool. That's how we started. And then we transitioned to Georgia Tech. So I knew I wanted to do something hard. I've always felt kind of bored early on. I was like, I want hard, some challenging. All this is. Yeah.
All right, wait. Before you start going into the college, I just want to roll back a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I was giggling because the person that couldn't talk, boy, do you talk. And for both of us,
Whoa.
both of us were both talkers. And I go, oh my God, how do we get the words in? You were very competitive in all these different sports. Were you doing all the different sports and all the activities because of the nonverbal, and you just wanted to get yourself out there? Because clearly you're an extrovert. Clearly, everything about you, from the data I met you're very much of an extrovert. But the whole entire starting, most people tend to be introverts. So how did that translate, or how did that happen where all of a sudden this child that doesn't talk is everywhere doing everything?
Yeah. So I won't say I didn't talk. I just mumbled. I just couldn't talk well. So I was talking. I was like, you couldn't understand me. Boy, I was talking, always talking. And also when I was younger, I was fat. So there was this dynamic where I realized I would get sad, looking at mirrors, and I'd be happy, and then I see a mirror, and then start playing with my my fat. So that taught me a lesson early on is don't worry about the mirror, just worry about the people and the energy, right? And girls still like me, and I was still doing my thing. I was husky. I wasn't actually fat.
Okay, audience, here's the ego. We're gonna see the SWOT.
You gotta believe. Focus on this. Don't focus on too much. Focus on the people and the energy. And so that's what I channeled is don't worry, don't be overly self-conscious, don't take yourself too seriously. Just do, I just love sports and the camaraderie, and I love family and community, so sports was extended family, and more brothers, and I have mostly sisters and girl cousins. So I cherish those kind of male environments and those hyper strong coaches and trainers who just give me shit. And I just, I feed off of that. So that was my relationship with sports. It wasn't that I was some introverted person that needed to express myself through that.
How many siblings do you have?
4. I'm 5.
You're 5.
Together,
so where are you on the 5?
Let's go. Yeah. Second. So second oldest, first oldest son. That's relevant in some cultures. But so a girl, boy, me, twin sisters underneath me, and then my little brother, the youngest, has Down syndrome. And so that was a big part of our childhood is working with him and taking care of him. And he had some health issues. Was obviously love him and is a big part of our family.
The traveling, you Nigerian family, your parents are in the medical field. When most people hear all the different moves, they're usually oh, you're a military kid. So how were you, why were you guys moving so often?
Medical school brat. I think my dad is a very square guy. He's an internist, so a super nerd. So he's only ever told me one thing about women, ever. And he was one day he was just tired, I think, of the kitchen. He was don't have kids in medical school. Listen.
Wait, don't have kids in what? Are you
In
see?
medical
This is
school.
where you need to talk a little bit louder.
Okay,
Wait,
don't have kids in medical school. All right, so he had just finished medical school, and he came from Nigeria. He did training in Nigeria, and then he worked across Africa, and then he came here to do his fellowship and to specialize. So he was doing different fellowships. So those multi-year hypertension and nephrology. So worked at Mahari and Albuquerque and Galveston, and so he was doing his fellowship and kind of getting his specialist certifications. So that's what caused us to, my mom was also kind of finished up her school as well. So that was, they're getting those degrees.
How was that for you guys? I mean, there's 5 of you, and it's great because you have your own group of friends. Mm-hmm. But how was it where you're in a school, then you're leaving the school, and you're in the school? So so you have your younger brother, you have your twins. The twins are it's like a team right there. Mm-hmm. The oldest sibling the oldest daughter that's basically watching over you guys.
Twin. We're Irish twins, so
you're Irish twins. Okay, so like same thing with my sister and I. Same thing. We're a year and 2 weeks apart from each other. Yeah. And so how was it where there's all these different elements of your family? Mom and dad are very focused on you, but also their education and being in the medical, and you're going from place to place to place, having to recreate friends. What did that do for you and for your entire family? We're always always going to new locations, making new friends, new environment, new school, new everything.
Yeah, I mean, luckily it wasn't, I think it does matter when it happens for children. And luckily that for me, and for most of us, it was between 0, well, it was 2 for me, 2 and 8, right? Yeah. So at that age, it didn't go into 10 and preteens. So I was able to keep, kind of from 2nd, 3rd grade, stay in one place. We were back in Atlanta by 99. Mm-hmm. And so, luckily I didn't, when I was super conscious and aware, I didn't have those issues, but 0 to 9, you're just having fun. It's daycare, you're learning how to not pee yourself. I had other more internal challenges, and it was just tight-knit family. I relish the diversity. Like Southern Alabama is very different than Albuquerque and Houston. I remember all the places. But I think when you're young, it's just all it's an adventure. I mean, it's just I think I saw fireflies for the first time in Alabama, and we climbed mountains in Albuquerque. And, so no, I think it didn't. Luckily, I think the timing was good, where it wasn't in your late childhood and preteens, where I think that can cause a lot of anxiety because you don't have attachments and you don't have a foundation, right? So.
I am first generation born in America, and one of the things that my parents were from Haiti, and our parents didn't have to leave Haiti. I mean, when they came to America, there was nothing wrong with Haiti. It was just a lush tourism location. And my dad just wanted the American dream. He had heard about it. He had read about it. He's like, you know what? We have a couple of relatives that are already in the States. He wanted the American dream, and we kept on challenging it all the time. And then he also challenged us where he's like, I want to make sure that you are we came here, not because we had to, because we wanted to. And we want you to take on every single possible dream that you could actually create, not even have or see, but create yourself. Yeah. How was that for you? Because Nigerian parents, I feel are very much like Haitian parents, Caribbean parents, where there's there's nothing that you cannot accomplish if you want it. Yeah. Without, my dad always said, without lying, stealing, cheating, killing, or hurting yourself, there's nothing you can't accomplish. So what was that mentality in regards of, again, 5 kids, your parents are in medical school, they're going for their dreams. What was that dynamics of getting you guys to get excited about everything that the world has to offer?
Yeah. Definitely a lot of stories. My grandparents were here, and there was the Biafra Wars, kind of Nigerian Civil War. They were on the losing side, so a lot of our family were involved in that in a really deep way. So we grew up with hearing those stories and those scars and yeast, grasshoppers, and all kinds of horrific stuff. But the mentality, so that was the backdrop, but the mentality was definitely, as you said, everything, this is fertile ground. Everything you need to be successful. We have you. So there was a big thing, we're here to support you. Anything you need to be successful in school. And beyond that, we're here, so you guys are smart. Y'all are gifted, focus, no excuses. So they kept us accountable, and there was a big push to be hey, you can do it. I mean, you have all the tools. This country, if you work, like people sleep, like we get it, you know what I'm saying? Like when you see it, and they would dream with us, like my parents would be on vacation or somewhere, and they're always like, oh, that'd be a great idea or business, and really always ideating and seeing opportunities. So I think that transferred to us. I don't call it, opportunism or entrepreneurial spirit but they could just see like the opportunity. And it's just always apparent that like, if we take care of business and, like we have the capabilities, we're smart enough, we can execute. So that's kind of that's what they impressed upon us.
I think that's just, I think it's when I got older, I realized that there are parents that don't do that. And I was like, the naive moment of like, what do you mean? I mean, like, that's all my parents ever did was, you can do anything, you can do anything, you can do anything. And I literally I think it was like, I had to be in college, no exaggeration, in college, where I realized that there were parents that do not like propel their kids to the next level. It was literally I was so sad. I was so sad. We're like, what do you mean? Like, you have a child, this is what you're supposed to do. And then I started working in daycares because I'm like, if your parents aren't doing it, I'm going to do it. And I started working more and more with kids because it bothered me and it saddened me that there were so many kids that were not getting that. You can do it. You can do it. You can accomplish anything in this world. And so the mentoring became super important for me.
Yeah. I think a point on that, or a few points on that. I think one thing I think a lot of times, immigrant parents get a bad rap, for their over expectation or being, too aggressive.
Well, when you said doctor, lawyer, engineer, that was it. That was it.
And I think yes. But I think the upside of that is I always say, like, at least they believe in you. I mean, that they expect so much of you, like, or that you can be. So take the good, right? And like, I think we have to appreciate that, and that's a gift that we, a lot of immigrant families and first generation get. You get the pressure, yes, but there also is the expectation when someone sees you higher, it helps you become more.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't have that, as you said. The other part, real quick, was also that, like, I think, with our family, and we talked about this, I don't know if you remember in Boston, is my parents started the business, and they're like, hey, this is a racist country. Like, it's not, like, it wasn't this Disney, anything can happen, but it's like, no, you're strong enough. You have the resources. We're here for you. But no, this is a hard country. These people are racist.
So we didn't
educated. It was informed.
But all right. So the difference for me was, I'm sure that so my parents came here. So I was conceived in Haiti. My mom was 8.5 months pregnant. She came to America. My sister was still in Haiti with my grandmother, and they came right when, like, Martin Luther King just got killed. And it was just like fresh. And so my mother didn't speak English. My dad was just learning how to speak English. And they were like, okay, we're still here, because they could see past all these different things. When we were being raised, they didn't say the world was racist, but they gave us the tools to understand and deflect. So the N-word meant ignorant person. So my entire life, N-word meant ignorant person. So if I ever heard it, I was like, I'm not an ignorant person, so I'm good. Yeah. And so they gave us these tools. So whatever could happen, we were able to deflect, and just keep moving on without saying, be afraid, this world is hard. They just said they just said, not this country is hard. They just said, overall, you're going to hit a lot of different things. And I'm dyslexic, and I didn't know this until I was much older. All I knew was it's hard learning this way. And my dad's like, I don't care how hard it is, but you're going to figure it out. And I did. I mean, that's like, we were given the tools, and we were told, you will figure it out. Not like, oh, well, it's you will figure it out.
Yeah. And I would say, like, the race, that my comment I just made, that concept didn't come until, like, college, like, later in life, so there wasn't this kind of narrative of, it was more so like, it was hard, my guy, but you can do it. Yeah. And, which I'm fortunate, there wasn't the bitterness, there wasn't, that component of, like, cultural bitterness, which can be in our communities, which was a blessing, because it helped you just kind of stay focused on, what do I have in front of me? Am I taking care of my family, my friends, and so.
Yeah, I mean, I would sit there and say, like, the next time we have a discussion, we'll discuss all the different things that our parents had to endure to get us to where we are. That's a whole deep conversation, which I love. I love it because it literally makes us who we are. And when we become parents, what will we do to do that? Because, like, I feel like there's, like, for a lot of my cousins, where their parents endured when their parents first came to this country, or they're immigrants themselves, and then their kids kind of like just coast and like, but it's the stories and what they went through to get you to where you are, not the, oh, I'm fine, I'm going to the mall now. I'm like, yeah, there's so much. There's so much. All right, we're gonna pause on that one. There's so much to unravel there. So you're now going into high school. I'm sorry, college. You're going into college. What are you like? You're the athlete. You're the speaker. You're the go-getter. You're going to college. What was your major, and what were the jobs that you got after you graduated?
Yeah, biomedical engineering. It was medical. It was the newest engineering. I didn't really know all it was, but it looked like it was interesting, like future avant-garde. So I did that, and then did a lot of jobs. I did every job. I had 4 jobs at one time. Works as like a waiter for like the football games.
Wait, did you just say you had 4 jobs at the same time, or 4 different?
4 jobs at the same time. This was like my junior and senior year. But they were like small. Like one was like work at the testing center, right? So proctor tests for people, really easy. You can do homework and get paid. And then I worked for like a startup publication. So similar to Venture Fizz in Boston, Hyperchemist, when it was really early on. I was worked at the football games as like a help, I don't know, like a butler in the suites, which was great. I was like, oh my goodness, this is so fancy. It was amazing, and you got free food. What was my other job? I worked at Abercrombie and Fitch. Walked in there one day, like, do you want to be a model? I was like, I think so. So anyway, so a lot of just not that I didn't pay for, I got some scholarships that got me through most of the years. And then college is so expensive. It's not like that, like $8,000, $10,000 did anything for tuition, but I didn't have any other funds, and so did what I had to do, and also just got exposure. I worked for a few like startups and like interned, and was trying to just get exposure. So.
Which is so this is like just another comedy of an immigrant's kid, first generation kid. One job is not enough.
No.
There's a lot of hours in a day.
You ain't really trying. You ain't living if you ain't got at least 2, my guy. No. Yeah.
It's like you're like testing drive every single job at the same exact time to make sure. Like I go, okay, when I become a doctor, lawyer, engineer, I just want to make sure I know which one that I want to be by testing right.
Yeah, but also just like it's a funny thing looking back. It's like I was surprised, like, why am I not doing well in school? like you guys, like you stupid. so that didn't last for long. Like I think I had like the testing proctor job for multiple years. That's the easiest. And I worked at a startup publication place for some years. So yeah, but good experiences.
So now you're in college, and what was your degree in?
Biomedical engineering.
Okay, so biomedical engineering doesn't just pop up. So you're, again, the talker, non-talker, athlete, tons of jobs. Why and how did this come up? Although, yes, it's something that's different, it's new, but is this like something that your parents were in? This is what they pushed you towards? Or this is a mentor, a teacher? Like, where did this come from? Where all of a sudden this is the degree that you went for? Yeah,
I just, I always thought it was a cliche. I pride myself on being like better. It was used to be like an elitist. So like basically it's like I thought it was a cliche that people would go through college and come out and say, I don't know what I want to do. I was like, that's ridiculous. 4 years is forever. Are you crazy? Very early on, like 10th grade, I was like, I'm gonna figure this out. Like these people, they stupid. So it's just get on the internet, right? And you go through College Board, and just like that looks interesting. It is like it's medical-ish, it's like innovation. My dad and I used to watch like 60 Minutes on Sunday, and they had like really cool technology, technology, biotech stuff that was on there. I was like, yeah, I want to be part of creating the future. So that just was just the obvious, and also it seemed hard, like and practical. A good balance of like the practical and just in new and novel, and also it was a great bridge to medical school, right? So I wanted a good story to be differentiated, really good strategically, just thinker. So like that's and Georgia Tech's number 1. I was number 1, 2 for BME. So just made sense. And it was interesting. Like I got in there, I was like, oh, this is amazing, but also very hard. But really, it was a good choice.
what happens next? So now, like, walk me through from graduation day to the start of your company.
Well, graduation day, it starts within tech. So a lot happened over those 5 years, 5 years, like a leadership minor and struggled immensely and all these things. But also I had an interest in high school and in development economics, and I love starting things. And I was like, just always inspired, like, we gotta fix this. We gotta fix this thing, So we started like two different kind of like nonprofit initiatives. Like one was really short, but a year, bridging the gap, looking at implementing solutions in developing countries. And the other one was for 4 years, worked on a road development initiative. So looking at how are new ways to build and fund infrastructure in developing nations and possibly all nations, just new models of building and engineering and funding infrastructure projects. And so those helped me cut my teeth on organizational, like building and scoping and, refining. So my senior project for senior design, we chose the problem of hemorrhage because I'd almost bled out in high school. I had a really bad car accident, fell asleep on the wheel, car went off the road, flipped 6 times, bleeding from my head, almost died, but
Stop.
I did.
Stop.
Oh, sorry, I know we're like on time. I didn't say this in order, but
I'm sorry. Well, that's a big story, dude.
Yeah.
Let's rewind here. You did what? Wait, what happened? Slow it down. I want to hear what happened.
Okay. Yeah. The day of prom and like our SATs, I think the day before that, I had just been studying, really stressed out, and I was going to one of my friend's baseball games to support him, but I was like super stressed that week and hadn't slept, not a wink. So fell asleep on the wheel, just going down kind of a neighborhood highway, 40 mile an hour kind of highway. And, I woke up, boom, I was like, oh my God, I'm airborne. So I had gone off, basically ended up going off the road. It was like a curve, so curve that way. So I kind of went straight, hit like a fire hydrant, went off like a guardrail, and the car flipped down this embankment about 6 times, and I landed. So the car lands, and holy shit, I turned to the left, and about 5 feet away is a house, and this old like couple is like opening their window to be like, what just happened? So I almost killed, my car almost like plunged into this house and killed us. They were right there, and it was, and there's glass. It was right here. My windshield like fell in. It was right in front of my face, and every airbag, was deployed. So by God's grace, I was able to climb out and like climb up the embankment, and was like sitting on the highway, like, oh my God. And I was dazed, and then people came over. I was like, I think I'm good. And then I did like this, so like my head and my hands came back red, because you can't feel anything. It's just all adrenaline. I was like, oh no, that's not good. I couldn't feel, so I got like a really bad gash in the back of my head. And anyway, but it worked out. It was like real close to a neighborhood, Emory East Side Medical Center. So they got me to the, just got some stitches in there, and, luckily.
So if you, in a situation like this where, yes, clearly we're both laughing at it now because obviously you're fine, but in a situation like that, if you were not, if you were in a residential area, how long do you think? Because the ambulance would have taken a long time. Someone would have hopefully called. How long do you think, because now you're in this field, that you would have bled out? Because you led with that, and that's like why we're like piecing this together.
I don't know. I've never actually thought about that. I don't know. It wasn't, thinking scientifically, luckily it wasn't a major artery that wasn't near my heart. So the low flow rates going to your coronary. So I could have passed out, from like low oxygenation and having a split coronary artery or something. But it would have taken me, hours upon hours. But I probably, it was low flow rate. So luckily it was fine. But at the time you're like, oh my God, you don't know that. So luckily, yeah, I think I probably had at least like 10 hours plus, because it just wasn't your 4 major boys, and it wasn't both carotids. You get both of these cut, hey, you got not much time, minutes, so.
So how did how did your product, so like, obviously it's off screen, So I can't see it that well, but I mean the video, I'll show video and stuff like that. Well, there we go, we can turn it. Ah, look at that. God, it looks great from the time that when I first met you. That looks good.
Yeah, we've had some years.
Wow, that looks amazing. So from the time that you decided that you were going to start your own thing, so like college, jobs, like, I mean, again, you're saying the stories and then you're pausing. So I want to go ahead.
Yeah, so that transition, basically, the short story is for senior design, we chose for a variety of personal reasons the problem of hemorrhage to work on. For our just senior design, you got to design something as an engineer to get out. And it was hemorrhage. It was about non-compressible hemorrhage, which is a leading cause of death for military and law enforcement, etc. So we invented something. So I was the first inventor, and we created our base device. And I was on the way to medical school and grad school. So I got into grad school. I was at the Medical College of Georgia for research, again, to kind of do more MCAT prep and just anticipating my eventual rise to MD, Dr. Tim. But that summer, 2014, we got a call from the medical director of Fort Hood out in Texas, and a 3-star general from Mississippi, and another, some surgeons in Atlanta who were former military doctors. And our advisors had passed this around, started passing the idea around. So about for 4 months, we were just getting these meetings and calls, and a few generals were like, "Hey, son, this is a real thing. Can I get this?" Right? And like, "No, sir." But it just, so just over time, the interest, the idea, was like, our group was kind of half together. People were going to med school and to industry, but really, like, there's a lot of interest here. Like, it's a simple device. Like, I think we could just spoof it up, like make it a bit more reliable and sell it a little bit or give it to someone. Like, we don't know anyone in the military. So August 2014, I was still at the Medical College of Georgia, but just kind of had a moment of like, a few days, really a week or two of like really pulling and struggling with it, but I just couldn't not do it. I just saw straight through the opportunity. I could see I could just see it. The intent wasn't to make a business necessarily or to be a startup guy or anything. I just saw the product and I just saw through it, right? And I just had to do it. So I deferred admissions for a year. I was going to go to USC, I think, and
deferred admissions from grad school to do this.
Yeah. So yeah, for master's in biomedical sciences or biomedical engineering out in California before I then hopped to apply to med school. And we will be really dumb though, because it's been like 8 years. And not the best with time.
8 years goes by fast. All right, so I met you. What is it?
15 or 16.
In what 2016?
2015 or yeah, Mass Challenge 2015. Yeah. So a year and some change later, or 2016.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? That's literally insane. So you were 2 years in. Obviously, I just said, that this looks amazing. In comparison to what I saw back then, amazing. Who is your target audience? You said military, but who is your target audience? I go, and why are they, even when you were just starting, they wanted it then, and it's evolved. So how has the trend, how has the evolution from in the 8 years happened? How are you perceived? You're a non-military person, you're a civilian, but you are the creator. And how are they supporting your growth? Because clearly now they want it, but you're like, I'm still the owner of this. And also, how big is the team now?
Yeah, a lot of questions.
So much. I hope you have it in your mind.
It really is. So to me, it's a big thing. It's a big issue. Hemorrhage control, is the number one tactical medical life leader. It's huge, right? And I underestimate. I didn't know. No one knows. Like, it's tourniquets. No one cares about those, but they need it, and it's a critical part of any good military. And I think back then, this was near 2009. It was like around the time of the surge. So if folks remember, we surged hundreds of thousands of troops, to Afghanistan, the Middle East, because IEDs and these type of things were causing huge hemorrhage, losses to hemorrhage, right? So we were, I think, all surprised by the appetite and the need and desire, because there are solutions, but they are kind of band-aids on overflowing vessels. It's just they half work, they don't really work, but there's nothing else. So they're taking anything. And so there was a lot of interest. We kind of went, I didn't know anyone, we didn't have no money, no connections, no military experience. didn't know the language. So we humbly just went. I mean, we drive for any meeting, we drive an hour, 2 hours to just talk and get feedback. So this is how we built our network for the first 2 years, hundreds of conversations, hundreds of hours recording. And the community just is like, hey, I love this. This guy likes it. This guy likes it. Hey, this unit's deploying. Can you guys make some? I mean, it was very much like grassroots. Let's build this together, because I don't know what equipment y'all got, so you tell me. So there was, it became their product. There was ownership, and it was a collective process. So this is my daishiki. One of our designers made this, as a gift to me. We don't make this. This is limited edition. You can buy this. You can't buy this. But it took 130 revisions, over about 7 years, 6 years to get this done. And that was a collective communal process.
How did you, sidebar, how did you not get discouraged? You just said 130 revisions. How did you not get discouraged with this entire process? Because I mean, you could have just gone to medical school.
Yeah, no, hell. I mean, you might remember I don't think you remember, you weren't, I think I talked to you on the phone or something, but I got very discouraged. I mean, there was a time in Boston where fundraising was really just you became kind of cynical. You look around, like, these guys are getting funded, and they're Jewish, and like, whatever. And I remember this conversation you and I had, and you really were just like, yo, this is gonna be a business. Like, you can't take that on yourself. You can't internalize that negativity. You can't, do what you can. And oh yeah, I mean, this was my parents, stopped talking to me for a while. I mean, it was very contentious, very isolated, very hard, very, 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 very hard, for many years. So, but I saw you saw through it. I mean, you see, and also we got lucky. I mean, God is good. Like, the way the straps overlaid the body, they just happen to, the military has hundreds of types of gear, material, and you can't predict where they go. And what if they cover up the places that we target? And it just turns out we've picked the perfect design that doesn't interfere with any of the hundreds of configurations of equipment across services, So it was it was a ride as we uncovered and learned. And I just had this feeling we can do this, and that it doesn't really make sense, but it just I don't even want to say faith, because I'm always like, oh, this what, I'm kind of pessimistic, but yeah, I mean, very tough. But over time, we started getting some support, and I think the excitement from the community really was a big driver. I mean, people would say, like, when we showed it to, I think we were at Wesley, like in the Boston PD, showed it to them, and they're on the floor using it, and they're like, yo, God bless you guys. Like, this, people light up, So that kind of stuff is like, wow. I mean, that means something. So I think it was those things, and people like you, and we've got a great community of investors and advisors who, are just honest, transparent, our kind of people, who, I mean, become mentors and become, like, second parents and third parents. And so we formed a warm community that's allowed me to, like, sustain and not just be like, yeah, I'm out. Because it sucks. It's great, but it sucks,
How big is the team?
Yeah, team. So get down about, I'm kind of weird. So we're doing 3 full time, but we have this thing where, like, so Paul Floyd, he's in Boston, our CFO, he's been with us since 2015, 16, right? So we kind of have, like, active duty and like reserve. So a lot of part-time, like a force of like 6, 7 part-time people who've been with us for about, 4 or 5 years. And like Paul, he was an advisor through Bass Challenge, and then he was kind of our financial guy. He made sure, like, I asked him, like, did I cook the books? Like, is this okay? It's legal. And then over time, he started kind of being our CFO, and now he's kind of CFO, COO. And so a lot of folks have been able to add in or out or to lesser levels to keep our costs down. But we're at 3, W-9s or 10, not W-9s, but W-2s. And we're about to hire 2 more. So we do have a foundation now, and we're going to be converting we have 10 operational folks. So we're going to bump that to 5 full-time and continue to build.
March 2020, the pandemic comes our way. Okay. Everyone, you're off camera. I'm like, where are you? Where's your head? Off camera. So the pandemic happens. the buzz is, I mean, literally the buzz is starting in end of February, March, middle of March, everyone shuts down globally. What did that do to your company? What did that do to your team? How are you in the right mindset to deal with this, the unknown?
Yeah, impacted us too. Again, not by God's grace, not as much as I know a lot of companies really suffered and went under. It's been a hard year for a lot of folks. So we took it kind of a month at a time. Luckily, we had just closed about $900,000 in like mid-February. So we just got the money in, and money has never been an easy thing for us, and it's taken a long time to get those amounts. So we were resourced for kind of the first time and not living kind of hand to mouth. But yeah, we do a lot of in-person testing, and so it did slow. Manufacturing came to a halt. Added 4 months as our manufacturer in New York had started making PPE and joined that effort. But yeah, we worked from home and we bunkered down. But it actually, I think, like for a lot of people, it provided a lot of space to work on the hard, real issues. And we have a deep technology problem or challenge. And so we were able to kind of safely, we were the only ones in our office building was cleared out. So we were the only ones in our lab, and it's a small team, 3 of us. So about 2 months in, we started like getting back to work and working on the hard technical challenges. So it provided a lot of space for us, and everything slowed down. But it did push our timelines, and that's bad because you only have money for X number of months, right?
Yeah.
So we've had to get very scrappy and very aggressive on non-dilutive and grants. And I'm proud to say, like this last quarter, we just captured about $400,000 from December 31st to I think end of the quarter, April 1st in non-dilutive capital. Because you realize, we're going to be dead in June if we don't change our ways and adjust and be flexible. So that's kind of how we just trusted ourselves, trust the process. But we're agile and we know how to tighten our belts, and so we've had to do that. And
What do you think in regards to scalability? You have this product. Military has been like one of the main focuses. A little bit more going into police forces. Where does it go now? I mean, so not only where does it go in regards to your product, but also the industry in regards of creating these products to protect our military locally, nationally, internationally, et cetera. But also like protecting our law enforcement. And yet with all the noise with the law enforcement that's out there, they're looking for better equipment to protect the ones that are doing it correctly, doing their jobs correctly. So where, in your opinion, do you see the industry of creating these amazing new technologies to help, not hurt?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's, given the our country's kind of troublesome history with law enforcement and then that legacy, I think for any humanitarian products, and we brand very military, but that's we changed our name some years back to do that deliberately. So we can do disaster relief, humanitarian. I mean, it's humanitarian product. It stops trauma in any environment for civilians, whoever. So we do have other products and renditions that will be more publicly available. We started working with Mass General and Brigham on some kind of mass casualty initiatives. So that's the vision, that's the scalability. But for other humanitarian like products that can save lives, I think police departments and those organizations are eager to come from PR, and messaging process, kind of highlight those and underline them. One, because they're important to saving lives for themselves, but also for the community. This is also a community health access to care issue, and they want to be part of that and that conversation to say, hey, gun violence, in Atlanta is increasing, and other places all over the country. We are first responders, and so they're going to be among people also helping, taking our device and similar devices to help the community response to trauma. So I think it's going to, the events of last year, I think, are needed for our country, and I think it's been a healing process. But I do think, given that PR nightmare and that breach of trust, organizations are going to benefit. We're going to find, I think, an eager partner in law enforcement, in public safety organizations, because it kind of centers the conversation on, we're here like on just something positive, like saving lives, no matter who you are, no matter the situation, like and we have the tools to do that.
I'm going to roll back a little bit to your parents. You mentioned earlier where they stopped talking to you for a while. Every person that goes into business for themselves, they saw a problem that they wanted to solve. They didn't like their job. They knew that they wanted to be an entrepreneur. They have it in them, and they're getting pushback from family and friends. People are looking at them and saying, like, you're so smart. Why are you doing this? Why would you put yourself through this? Like, why? I mean, you have a family. So what would you say to someone, knowing that you've experienced it very clear as day, that someone, because during the pandemic, a lot of people got furloughed, people got laid off, people couldn't get a job after graduation. They want to do it on their own, but the fear of what the family would say is holding them back. And so what advice would you give to anyone that's listening to you right now that got a little taste of, well, like your parents start talking to you, but yet you've done so many amazing things. How do they navigate that? How do you navigate wanting to save the world, wanting to create something that is new, innovative, but that family and friend pushback is a fear factor?
Oh, yeah. So a few things there. I mean, one, you got to have integrity. You know, I think to my parents, I was like, I mean, you didn't raise, like, who do you think you raised? Like, I'm like, because my mommy said so. Like, come on. That's not the kind of son you want. That's not who you raised, right? And I'm doing this respectfully, and I'm trying, like, you know, and I'm taking the brunt of this. You're not paying, you know, like I'm taking on the risk and the pains and all the things, you know. So you got to have integrity first and foremost. It's scary, but like, just because, you know, hearsay and opinions cannot be the defining factor. They're important because family does matter, community does matter. I don't think you throw any of those away, but you have to weigh that. So there's that. So there's integrity. You need to struggle with it. I advise people to honestly struggle with it. If you're not mentally kind of like, if you're not unsure, then I don't know if you're thinking hard enough. I think you might just be self-indulging in some idealistic dream, you know, and dreams are good, but, you know, reality is better. So really struggle with it and make sure it's worth, you know, leaving your family. And I missed a lot of things in our family and couldn't go home for a while. And not that I regret that, but it's you know, there are real opportunity costs. So make sure what you're doing is worth being apart from your family and those things, you know, just make sure it's worth it. And then take courage, you know, you just, you know, scary shit, but I mean, again, if the thing is worth it, you just got to do it. I mean, fear will be there. Fear will always be there. Fear is still there. I have a lot of, you know, your fears change over time, but it's like, you can't do something because you can't not do it because it feels scary, you know, or because mommy says not to, you know, it's just, it's crazy.
So where are they now with you?
So it's funny. I had a pitch in Atlanta in 2020, like 18 or something, or 19, and I invited them to just come downtown and see it. My daddy was like, nah. My mom came the last in the end, you know, so she caught the presentation, and, you know, there's special operators there talking about it and all this stuff, and there's a line of investors. But she went home quietly, you know, and got home, and she didn't say a word. Like usually she's like, "Gah, gah, gah." So I was like, okay, so white people like it. When white people like it, is okay, you know. Like, okay, like, well, I've been doing this. I told y'all. So she validation is important, you know. But she saw the guys. She said, "Oh, he's serious," you know. And my parents just came up to our office for the first time to DC last 2 weeks ago, and so they're so critical. My team was like, "I'm surprised how critical your parents are." They're health providers, right? Yeah. But they're rooting for me, and they're like, they kind of see it, you know. They're like, all right, stay focused, get it done, you know. So very good. I like it. It's not too like, you can do it, you're a hero. None of that. But I know they're proud. I know they read every email, every update, quietly. They don't gas me up in the least, but they're praying for me, and they say, hey, take care of business, my guy.
Well, it's funny that you even brought that up because I remember when I was at Mass Challenge, and it was very early on, and John Hawthorne, one of the founders, his dad was like a heart surgeon and like a very, very well-known heart surgeon at MGH, Mass General Hospital. And they all were like so critical about this entrepreneur doing this for free, no equity. Like, what is this thing that you're doing? And I remember we got John in the Jewish Advocate, and his mom got a phone call from a friend saying, I saw Johnny. He was in the paper, in the Jewish Advocate. And when I tell you, the game changer of they came in, they never missed a beat. They're like, oh my God, my son is a celebrity.
Yeah, yeah, watch one of your aunties tell your parents, get that communal validation.
He was in the New York Times, he was in the Wall Street Journal, he was in all these things. They're like, whatever. The second he made their paper, it was game changer. And the same thing with me, where when my parents get phone calls, because like my parents were like, well, what does Jodi do? Like, I don't know. She's happy. They knew when I worked for the governor, they knew what I did. But I mean, other than that, they're like, she's happy. And so when now, like, I mean, I'm in the papers and things like that, and other relatives in other states call them, they're like, yes, we're so proud of her. I'm like, do you know what I do though? Do you know what I do?
Yeah. It's funny. That's just how it is. Like, y'all better stop lying. Oh yeah, we support. Shut up.
Well, I have one of my cousins that like I go, he was, and I had him on the podcast earlier. So like, and we're very close to the same like the generation. And again, doctors, lawyers, engineers. That's our family. And he went to Wharton. I go, and I went to Babson. I go, we got our MBAs, and I swear to God, we're the two little redheaded stepchildren in the corners at any Asian functions, because everyone's like, what are they doing? I mean, and now they understand a little bit more because of Shark Tank. They're like, oh, we get what you do. I'm like, really? Because it took Shark Tank. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Like, so you can't do these things in life. You can't do them for other people's validation, right? I mean, like, it's nice. You want your parents and your family to think you're awesome, but you got to do it because you love it and it makes sense and it's important because they'll catch up and shit.
Okay, eventually. Where does your company go next? I mean, so what happens now? So you've gotten the funding for now. I go, you're growing your team. Where does, but what happens? Like, where do you want to be in, I mean, I never want to say 5 years because we all know everyone that had a plan in January 2020 got washed out. Gone. So what is the goal for the company? Do you scale? Do you fail? Do you get acquired?
So for context, so we're 7-8 years in now. We've gotten three contracts from the government. It's about $2 million ish of DoD contracts, which has been helpful, and we've raised about $2 million. And
stop whispering! I can't hear you. I'm an old lady.
I'm sorry. My mumbling. That's speech.
You're not mumbling. You just you go from high to.
Okay.
You're gonna think that I'm messing with the volume.
No, okay, sorry. But we gotten 3 government contracts. We've raised about 1.6 in that funding. We've raised some venture capital, about $2+ million, and another $500,000, $600,000 in non-dilutive, plus some other stuff, right? So we've come a long way and been able to establish ourselves as a functional device. We've done several tests with the Army and the Navy in Texas at their labs, showing this is an efficacious device. And so what's next for us is the FDA. So we've met with the FDA twice. The DoD joined us and they said, hey, this product works, like get her done, which is great. And so we just, need to, we're in the refinement stage of the hardware component. So there's a apparel version part of it, and there's a hardware component that applies the pressure on the body. And that's a really complex piece, just given how diverse everyone's bodies are. Biodiversity is crazy. So we're in the refinement stage of that. And so we're, but the table is set. We have all of our FDA studies planned with partners. Baltimore Shock Trauma, which is the #1 trauma center in the world. And then the Navy will be our test partners for FDA testing. And then we have about five other studies that, if things go well, we'll publish. We'll do them this year and have up to 5 to 7 publications in the next 18 months, for the community, and we'll be a lot louder. So hopefully we have our FDA submitted, 510K submitted by Q4. We're in the market at Q1, Q2, and we get into the money. We start pilots, late summer, and we're able to become louder. We've been very quiet. First things first, as my dad would say, making sure the science is there, making sure the reliability is there, making sure our partners, the ones who matter, are kept in the loop. And so we hope to be a lot more public and really begin. We haven't even gotten started, which is the crazy part. That's what we can look forward to, is getting to the market in the next 12 months and starting to grow. And we have 3 other products we've already kind of developed in the background. a lot of exciting, and we have acquisitions. We've gotten some acquisitions offers already from some PE, some strategic partners. So I think we'll have options. We'll have a few ramps. We can grow this for 10 years. I think we'll be able to come off with an exit in the next few years. But again, it's all contingent on us just focusing on our technical challenges right now, which we're taking care of, and getting over the hump before we run out of money, as is the task of any startup. So
Can you run very quickly into like some, again, people have been watching, well, I mean, the people that are listening, they're listening, but for the people that are watching us, they're looking at this behind you. How does it work?
Yeah, so I'll try to, let's see if we can show this, right? So what we've created is a wearable tourniquet system, right? And so the idea of this is if you go into so usually we've taken vascular clamps, which are clamps that kind of pinpoint your vasculature and just smush it, and just occlude it through external force. But the idea is we've taken vascular clamps, we've changed the form factor to close so that you can go in to an environment with this being on, like an airbag. So we kind of say it's an airbag for vascular trauma. And so this year's mannequin has a standard kind of special operations light body armor rig with a blast belt, sidearm, and your plates. So in the world we're creating, say you have an injury on this leg, on the right leg, versus calling for a medic, you can kind of be your own medic. And so what you would simply do is go to your system, go to 10 and 2 o'clock, deploy this leg strap, so it comes out, you wrap it around. I don't know if you remember this from
I do.
You wrap it around your leg, right? You secure it back onto the strap. We'll put it back there for now. And so what we've done is we've created, you can see it on the video, maybe not, but we've pinpointed, we know exactly, for the population, within, millimeters where your artery is. So now where your artery is, we tell you, and I don't have the hardware widget right now, but you would go, it'd be on your person, it'd be in your pocket or somewhere. You take the hardware widget, you kind of put it on top of that site, and then you ratchet down and you provide occlusive pressure, right? So one leg can do it any one of your bodies. Your left leg, right leg, on your femoral arteries. On your arms, you have your auxiliary arteries up here. So wherever the trauma is, whether it's your wrist or your arm, middle arm, or up high, this is kind of the one-stop shop. And then we've also made a capability where you can do aortic compression, which is really serious, like really bad day. It happens a lot. So we have a way that you can even render care more central. So we're looking to just create the one-stop shop. If any vascular event happens, a mass casualty shooting, industrial accident, if you put this on, you're going to be fine. You're going to be able to buy yourself anywhere from, 4 hours. But we have ideas and ways to take it, we think, to 72 hours of sustained limb viability, and obviously keep you alive and keep those fluids in you. So
that's awesome. Oh my God. I love you. I love you. I'm so proud of you. Oh my God. My babies are doing so wonderful. I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Oh my God. All right. So the hour went by fast. Clearly we need to catch up in when someone's not recording us.
Yes. I want to hear about all your adventures.
Oh my God. There's so much. There's so much.
In a while.
Oh my God. There's just so much. And there's like one of my favorite stories about you, but I can't share it. I share it with my friends, but I can't share it where anyone is recording because it's like one of my favorite stories that you experienced. And I'm like, I am mortified by you, but you're awesome.
I think I know.
I know you know.
I don't think which one.
Let's just keep it this way. You know what story it is. I know what story it is. I love it. It's my favorite story with us, but it is the story that I'm constantly mortified by you. Because you are a character. He's such a rock star, but you're such a character. So we'll just keep it there. So for anyone that's in my world, there's always an adventure. There's always adventures. Mm-hmm. So because we're gonna have to go, we're gonna wrap this. I have my last question. This is the last question I ask, no matter how many times I talk to you, because obviously I will talk to you. This podcast is not going away. Everyone focuses so much on the business and they don't focus on themselves. And so I always put out the question where if you had a personal ask and a professional ask, what would be your personal ask and what would be your professional ask to anyone and everyone that is listening to you?
Yeah. Well, professional ask is we're hiring. So we're looking for talented biomedical engineers. And I guess it's kind of a time-based thing, but we're always looking for great proactive, right? So we're hiring. We appreciate folks who just reach out, love our mission. We've hired a few folks that way. So we're always looking for great people and great teammates, people want to do their best work. So cliche, but that's what people, make everything happen. Personally, two-part prayers. I mean, life is humbling. Life is so humbling, and you just realize how ignorant you are all the time. And it's like, how do parents, how do people get through life? So I need help, prayer, but also coach. I think I'm trying to, a leadership coach, or if folks know, programs or those or maybe a therapist. I don't know. But I think, I think help, some assistance with thinking through parts of life and further developing, my leadership skills and my approach and, aids for self-reflection and kind of self-growth. So those would be both great things.
They're good things. They're good things that people just take for granted. So like, see, that was good. Aw.
What do people usually say? Like they say like money, or I don't know.
Well, if you listen to the podcast, you just like fast forward to the end and you can hear. It's always at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love you to listen to like a few of them, but if you want to know what people are saying, just go to the end.
I'll see that.
Yeah, they're very sweet. And people are always so surprised about asking for themselves. And yeah, they make me smile. Every single time they make me smile.
Yeah, we do forget that part. That's like, not a,
Chibs, my love, always a pleasure.
Always
a pleasure. I really am so proud of you. I mean, just looking at that the entire time you're talking, I'm looking at it, I'm like, look how that is like, what a game changer. I mean, so you are doing great work. You're saving lives. You're helping save lives. I go in, I know it's not easy when you're doing something and people don't understand. And especially when we're immigrants, kids, first gens, it's people sometimes, unless you're in it, people don't fully understand it. But we're here doing a lot of things for a lot of reasons. And our parents, at the end of the day, they may not understand, but they are proud because they see the drive and they instill that drive in us. So keep that with you.
So,
all right, my love. Until next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye.